as soon as John mutes.
Go ahead.
All right, welcome.
Try it again. Yep. Now try it. There we go.
All right, welcome to the February 28th, 2024 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I'm Candace Breyer, Chairperson of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The Zoning Board of Appeals is a 9-person volunteer board nominated by the mayor and approved by City Council. First, we will hear from Planning Services, represented by John Barrett. Then the applicant or their representative will make their presentation. Applicants will have 5 minutes in which to make their presentation. Staff will keep time and will announce when 30 seconds are remaining. Public comment is available in person or remotely. We will first call on individuals present to address the board, then remote participants. To speak during a public hearing or during public comment remotely, press star 9 if listening by phone, or use the raise hand feature if viewing through the web link. For phone access, call 877-853-5247 and enter meeting ID 938-1648-1007. City staff will select callers that have raised their hand using the last 3 digits of their phone number or by name if available for those accessing through the web link. You will hear an automated announcement that the host is allowing you to speak. When speaking, please move to a quiet area and mute any television or background sounds. We may ask questions of either the city or the applicant. We will acknowledge any written comments received by the board. We will allow an appearing party to express their support or objections. The board will then discuss the appeal and formulate a motion to approve the appeal. 5 affirmative votes of the board will be required for an appeal to be granted. Finally, any qualified party who is aggrieved by a decision of the board can appeal that decision to the Washtenaw County Circuit Court on a timely basis. Roll call, I am here. Todd Grant.
I am here.
Dave DeVarty. Chris Madigan.
Here.
Sadira Clark.
Here.
Grace Whitney. I'm here. Mike Daniel.
Here.
Dharma Ackman.
Here.
Christina Glusak. Here. We have a quorum. Moving on to approval of the agenda, I will note that petition ZBA 24-0001-1294 Jewett Avenue has been postponed until the March ZBA meeting.
Yep, well, I think we're going to have to take a vote on that to postpone it, since it's already been advertised. And there was a error in the advertisement, so.
Okay, so we can take public comment if anybody wants to speak on it, but then we won't take any action?
That's correct.
Okay. Other than that, are there any questions or comments or changes to the agenda? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Thank you, Mike. Support? Thank you, Todd. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, so moving on to approval of the minutes. We have minutes from the January 24th, 2024 ZBA meeting. Are there any questions, comments, corrections on those minutes? If not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Chris. Support? Support. Thank you, Christina. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving on to public hearings. First, we have petition ZBA 24-0001-1294 Jewett Avenue. As I mentioned, this petition is being postponed until March, so if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, now's the time. There will be another public hearing at the March meeting before we consider this petition again. So if you want to speak on this, you don't have to speak today, but you may if you would like.
There are no callers as well.
Thank you, John. With that, the public hearing is closed, and we will move on to petition ZBA 24-0002, 1960 Ivywood Drive. John?
Thank you. I'm John Barrett, zoning coordinator for the city of Ann Arbor. Robert Clark, representing the property owner, is seeking a variance of 12 feet 1 inch from Chapter 55, Table 5.17-1, single-family residential zoning districts. The variance, if granted, will allow for a new enclosed glass sunroom addition in the rear yard of the parcel. The new addition is 19 feet by 16 feet and will be approximately 304 total square feet. When finished, the sunroom will be 17.9 feet from the rear lot line. The property is zoned R1C, single-family residential, and requires a 30-foot rear yard required setback. The subject property is located at the intersection of Dartmoor Road and Ivywood Drive in the Dartmoor neighborhood. The home was constructed in 1964 and is approximately 1,136 square feet in size. The rear yard setback for the property is the southern portion of the lot. The rear yard is opposite and most distant from the front lot line per the Unified Development Code definition of a rear lot line. If you'll turn your attention to the monitor, you'll see the first slide for the subject property, the zoning map. You'll see it highlighted in blue in the center of your screen. And you see that it's just south of West Liberty and east of West Stadium in the Dartmoor neighborhood. The next slide shows the aerial photo of the surrounding properties and existing conditions and surrounding neighborhoods. And the next slide is the zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property. And you see, where's my cursor, if you can see that, where the rear yard is, and you see a brick paver patio. The next slide is the survey that was submitted with the application, and the applicants are asking for this 12-foot, 1-inch variance to be 17.9 feet from the rear lot line, and you see the superimposed footprint of the sunroom on the survey. Next slide was submitted, a photo concept rendering by the applicant, superimposing what the proposed sunroom will look like when finished. This is just a floor plan, footprint, foundation of the sunroom. These are photos that I took at the property when I made my visit, site visit, and this is the front of the property, the front door. This is moving to the back of the rear property, and you see the existing brick paver patio in its current state, as I stated earlier. This is looking with my back towards the facade of the house towards the neighbors, looking south. And this is looking from Dartmoor towards the garage in the house on the other side of the property. And that is all the photos and presentation I have at this time. I can take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, John. Questions? Todd?
So it sounds like it would not make a difference if this enclosed sun porch were attached to the building or not, because it's fully enclosed. Is that why a variance is needed? If it were a raised deck, for example, you wouldn't need a variance, but because it's enclosed, does that trigger the
Because
variance setback?
because it's attached to the home, and it's an extension, a roof extension of the home, and it's once it's attached, it becomes part of the home.
Got you. So if they built it separate and
And
it
it-
wasn't attached to the home, then it wouldn't impact the variance setback requirement.
Well, setbacks, no, maybe, but the structure of this size, there's limitations on size in the rear yard setback area, so I'm not sure the size of this would impact
Because
that or
of-
not.
Because of coverage, the percent of the backyard that's covered.
Correct, for a detached structure. But
Okay.
it's
Okay.
attached, so it's got to meet the same setbacks as the home.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for John? Grace?
So since this is is a corner lot, right? These are, but that is still the rear yard.
Correct.
I'm
On
understanding,
corner
okay.
lots, the rear yard is opposite the most distant of a front lot line.
Okay, that
And
makes
so
sense.
based on, if you look at the photo that's up right now, or
Mm-hmm.
the slide, you can tell that the south lot line is further than if you were to measure from the Dartmoor
Okay.
side.
Okay, I just wanna make sure I
Excuse me, Ivywood
understood
side
that.
than the Dartmoor side.
Okay.
Chris?
This might be unfair for you off the top, but I was just curious what, in the R1C, what our current dimensional standards are for lot size and lot width, if we have.
Lot
below.
size is 7,200 square feet and lot width is 60 feet, I believe.
Oh, it is 60 feet?
Yep.
Okay, so this
It's a conforming lot.
lot would, 66.16 would come, okay.
Correct,
All
yeah.
right, thank you.
Dharma?
Can you help me understand if I am looking at like a unique lot in context with the rest of the neighborhood? I mean, is there something peculiar to, yeah, I'm not,
Well, I mean, there's corner lots that exist all throughout
Sure.
Ann Arbor, and
Yep.
as a frequent member of the board, I'm sure we get about one corner lot every other month, I would say. So it does impose different types of restrictions and setbacks as opposed to, say, the lot right next door. The
And
yard
that's-
is configured differently. If you look at the east side of the lot, and the way the house is positioned, it's facing Ivywood with the sidewalk, and then if you look at their rear yard, it's only 5 feet in depth. But a lot of these homes and situations like this were built prior to the ordinance being established.
so this has less of a backyard to work with, basically. Oh, sorry,
Well, it's,
maybe.
So, if you don't mind, can I
No.
just jump in real quick?
Sure.
Go ahead.
That was the point of my question. And though it's a corner lot, it's still conforming, right? So it meets the minimum width.
Correct.
If we were to propose a new neighborhood here, this lot would be acceptable. And so it's not competing against any width challenges that other non-conforming older lots would.
that's a fair statement. It's just, it's about positioning of the home and making an addition to the home. It cannot, based on the positioning and the way it's on a corner lot and setbacks being applied, it doesn't enable the homeowner to do an addition or an improvement to the property without a variance.
Because where's the setback line measured from again?
From that south lot line,
Okay,
it's got to meet the principal structure.
Okay.
The house has to meet 30 feet to that lot line.
okay.
And-
John,
Yeah, go
oh,
ahead,
yes,
Christine.
and then, so the property to the east, what are their setbacks?
So they'd be
What
the
is
same. They're-
Yeah,
You have a 5-foot sides and 30-foot rear.
and the rear is to the south?
Correct, on
Okay.
theirs as well.
Okay,
They don't have two front yards, though. They only have one
Yes.
front yard. This property has 2 front yards.
okay.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner is here, if you'd like to come forward, please state your name for the record and sign in. You'll have 5 minutes.
My name is Robert Clark. I'm with Four Seasons Sunrooms of Ann Arbor. I'm representing the client. A lot of the things you guys brought up are very true. I mean, it's definitely in need of a variance. And said well that if you shifted it one lot over and became an interior lot, we wouldn't be before you. Okay, but we are. So we're not looking, we're not looking for pity. We're looking more for logic. So what we did in our due diligence was, as John took the pictures, I also took line of sight pictures showing like who would it bother? I mean, am I going to cause or impede upon somebody that's going to disagree with this structure, okay? From Ivywood, if you notice, there's a line of arborvitaes that are very tall. So from Ivywood, you can't even see that patio area. The one that is most affected is the one that is directly south of it, and that is who the customer went to. And in the packet, there should be a approval letter from that neighbor that said they had no problem with it. We're basically facing their garage. We're not really facing the main living area of the home. So with that being said, I mean, we appeal to you that it is, I mean, it's not a unique because it's a corner lot, but it's unique to the fact that, and John knows this, I was submitting my application as if it was a side yard. He said, son, it's not a side yard. That is a rear yard because it's a corner lot. I didn't catch it, in honesty, but I started to face it, and we did all our due diligence of doing a border survey and spending all the money to get before you so that hopefully we could find reason that this is not impeding upon anybody that will, jump up and say, what are you doing? So that's where we're at.
Thank you.
Do you want to, I mean, I made these line of sight pictures. I don't know if you guys care to look at them. I made about 5 packets of it. But it will just give you, I don't know if you guys got by the site, but this will give you, I'm going to set it over here and you guys may.
Yeah, you can give it to John.
Okay, great. Mine are marked up, where it's facing.
Any questions for the petitioner, Todd?
Yes, Mr. Clark?
Yes, sir.
So the problem I'm having, if this were going to be an enclosed room, we see these where people add an addition onto their home because they need to expand the kitchen or need a bedroom, et cetera, et cetera. But am I correct in saying that this is a sunroom, so it's just a room that's enclosed that'll have patio furniture in it? The idea is to keep the mosquitoes and the sun off
It
people
is,
when they're out
but
there.
not always patio furniture. They actually furnish them with living room furniture.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
truly one of the things that was stated, if I can, that it's an 1,100 square foot house, John? Is that what you said? 1,100 square feet?
1,136, yes.
Yeah, so really it's just expanding some living space and being outdoors without the bugs and all the,
So
Frustrating.
my wife and I have in our basement, we haven't used it in over a decade, but a large enclosed screen porch from LL Bean that you can set up and then put away in the winter. And it keeps the mosquitoes away. But we've had a tree that the branches have grown low and didn't fit, and my wife likes the branch. Why wouldn't they simply do that? I mean, I realize you wouldn't earn money building it, but
It's-
the
yeah.
homeowner, isn't there an easier solution, which is you have one of these enclosed tents that you get at REI or Cabela's?
Yeah.
You stick it up there, the sun's off you, the mosquitoes are out, and you got your patio furniture. You get the same thing that this is doing for more
well,
money.
you put yours away, but the people that leave them up, they wind up in the neighbor's yard. I mean, so, and they aren't really as usable because it's dirt blowing through, you put your furniture in there, it's constantly in there cleaning it.
Ours has a floor on it, so it wouldn't blow away.
Okay.
But,
All right, well, I mean, many of those ones you're looking at Costco and all these other places are just bolted down to something, hopefully, that it won't blow away. But this is just giving them more living space.
Okay. Yeah, even though this is, in one sense, we did get the letter from Ms. Garland. She has no problem with it. I'm not surprised. But the other issue I have is just it's a big chunk of the setback. It's 40% of the 30 feet. And it seems to me there's just an easier solution. Can you tell me why the built permanent sunroom is necessary as opposed to one of these, put it up for 6 months and then put it in the basement for 6 months and bring it out when the weather's warm?
You know, if I were to promote that, obviously I'm going
Yeah.
against what I do, right?
like-
And we build many structures in Ann Arbor, many. It's really, it's a joy. I've been doing this since 1982, so it's a joy to see when we're done, that people just feel they can walk right in, enjoy the family. If it's raining, I don't care what it is, you have a space to enjoy.
I'm sorry for picking on you, that's a whole
That's
other
okay,
question.
that's okay.
They're not here.
Yeah, they are. It's-
Oh, okay. Well, maybe, but that's the problem I have.
Yeah.
There's another solution.
I think it's a totally different solution, but it's not really what we're promoting here. What we're promoting is a room that they can, I don't care if it's snowing, raining, you know, kind of like the mailman. You know, he's going to deliver the mail. But you're not limited on your usage so that you can enjoy all seasons and you can enjoy your yard the way you'd like to. I realize the size again, if I was an interior lot, we wouldn't be here. And I certainly wish I was on an interior lot in this situation, but it caught me by surprise, because I thought we had plenty of room, you know? So, oh, my pleasure, thank you.
Any other questions for the petitioner? Yeah, Christina?
Question, was an elongated version floor plan considered? So just to go the length of the,
The house and the
Yeah.
shorten the projection?
I mean, and ask for a lesser
Well, to stay within,
setback?
either way, so what you're asking me is, instead of going out 16 feet, could it be decreased? That would be a question I could have to ask my client.
Was there a photo that we had in the packet that showed that full elevation?
Which
The south? No, it just shows partial, unless that corner is right there.
And when you look
Could
at.
be the corner. And it goes a little bit, or past the gutter, past the downspout, rather. I was just curious if there's something that would get in the way of stretching it out. There would still probably be a request to
For
us.
quite a variance, I mean,
But
yeah.
it seems possible.
If we were
Just
saying 10
curious if it
feet,
was-
we'd be asking for 10 feet, you know?
Yeah, but just wondering if it had been
I understand.
looked at as an alternate.
Yeah, I mean, so narrow and long, sometimes we consider it to be a bowling alley.
Sometimes consider it.
Like a bowling alley, 'cause it's very
Oh,
narrow, and
uh-huh.
it's just, so, you know, we just try to give them the space to enjoy and not have to take a piece of furniture here, and it will fit it well, and when it's done, it's gorgeous.
Yeah,
Just tear
because
it out.
plenty of porches, I mean, that's what, they're narrow. I mean, again,
Mhm.
it would be less of a request to just at least test that option out, given if there's
Well,
any site
and-
conditions. Doesn't
okay.
appear, there's some, I'm not sure what that is to the left basement window, but,
Yeah, the space and window.
yeah, but to the left of it, there's some box or something there, I'm not sure what
That
that is.
is a hose box, it looks like. Housing the hose. You know, when you look at where, I understand your percentages and all that, but when you look at where this stops and where the neighboring house is, it's, I mean, I can't use their lot and, you know, but I'm just saying it's at least 30 feet from any neighbor, the only neighbor that will be affected. So, you know, and with a 1,100 square foot house, I don't think it's hard to understand that we need a little more space, you know?
Can you go back to the floor plan again, please? So the access is only from the outside?
From the Ivywood side is where they'll have a, because there's
Okay,
additional
but it's not,
patio.
you're not expanding, or the owner's not expanding the existing window opening to be a man door?
Oh, no, we are
Oh.
on the, it would be the,
Oh, new French door.
First
I
window
see
off
it.
the corner.
Oh, I see that note now, yep,
that's going to be turned into a door.
okay.
Any other questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you. If there's anyone else from the public who wishes to speak on this, please come forward now. If there's anyone accessing the meeting remotely, please press star 9 to raise your hand or use the raise hand button if accessing via the web link. I will note briefly that we did receive one letter of support for this petition from Teresa Garland at 1930 Hampton Court. Do we have any callers, John?
There are no callers.
All right, thank you. With that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. Dharma.
So I think it finally clicked to me why the dimensions are sort of funky. So they were thinking of this as their side yard because the door is not like on the reverse side of where they plan to put this sunroom.
Correct.
But because of the way that we have to measure it from the corner lot, it's the back and the backyard setbacks apply. So I do understand how this is a unique situation. Just to speak to, you know, the questions that were asked regarding could this be smaller or not? You know, one of the criteria that we have to look at is the minimum variance that will make a possible reasonable use of the land or structure. So just to kind of put a point on that, but yeah, I could see how this is a unique issue based on the land.
Mike?
So I understand why someone would want to do this. It'd be a nice addition to a home to have a sunroom. But I'm trying not to think about it as, I'm just trying to think about it as if it was just brick, right? Like, if this gets approved, then they can tear this down and just extend the house, or maybe not them, but the next owners. Not making it a sunroom forever. So if the idea is using your outside, natural light, a lot of Todd's comments really resonated with me, where it wouldn't be as useful in the middle of winter, but there's ways to get use of the space for those things for a good chunk of the year that isn't asking for a variance that could then just, again, give that option to just extend the house and add a regular non-sunroom room. That's where I'm really struggling on it. So I haven't made up my mind, would love to hear if others have thoughts either way.
Grace?
Yeah, I think I agree with Dharma that it seems kind of counterintuitive. Like, it looks like this should be the side yard when you look at kind of how the house is laid out. And just as like a general thing, like with staff, that I know we kind of go over what are some things that we see really frequently. And I feel like we see a lot of these corner lot situations. And I know that there are plenty of communities that, while you have 2 front yards, then you also have 2 side yards instead of having like a larger rear yard setback. So I just want to put that out there, that maybe that would, you know, changing things in that way might reduce the amount of variance requests for these kind of lots that we see. So it's just a general thought.
Chris?
We saw a very similar application to this the last month or the meeting before, where I very, very passionately argued for it. It was a home that wanted a garage, and it was a lot very similar to this. And at the time, I supported that one because I felt the grade change where they didn't want to put it was sufficient enough to warrant a hardship. I'm not sure what the hardship is on this one. I'm not going to go at it as hard as the last one. I think I made my point there, but essentially what I see is a conforming lot and a house that conforms to it, and a house that is significantly bigger than the house next door, a very similar lot. I don't think that this is an issue of an interior versus exterior lot. I think it is a house that was built at the time to the maximum that it, or close to it. I don't know what the standards were back then, but it's bigger than the one next door, right? And I don't want to say that a 4 seasons room in the rear yard is a bad idea, right? And I don't think that the neighbors are opposed to it because I don't think that it is an imposition on them. I don't think it creates any issues for them. But what I will say is that I think it would be really inconsistent for us to say no to that garage where the lot actually had issues in elevation change. And this one, where we have a conforming lot, we have a house that generally conforms, and they're just they don't like the rules. And I get it. There are many rules that I don't like. But that doesn't mean that I have an actual hardship that is, allows me extra rights that my neighbors, even quarter neighbors or interior neighbors, don't have. So, I'm going to vote no on this because I think that generally the house didn't have to be built like this, right? It didn't have to be as extended as it could. The one next door, and a very similar lot other than the interior side of it, is just much smaller. And these lots are intended to have smaller homes, right? I understand why you would want a bigger home, but I just don't think that this is the lot for it. So I'm going to vote no.
Todd?
Assuming the property is exceptional in one sense, every piece of real estate is unique, and I understand the placement of the door. On the other hand, there are many corner lots in the city, so ignoring that first of our 5 criteria, I still think there are some other problems. The practical difficulty, criteria number 2, isn't that great. Avoiding mosquitoes, there are other ways to do it, and I understand it would be a nicer use, but I don't see this really as a practical difficulty. And number 5, the variance should be the minimum that requires a reasonable, nice use of the property. I don't think that is met here. And in general, I have a problem where there are other ways to get what an applicant wants without needing a variance. If you could avoid coming before the ZBA, and you can take care of the problem yourself, then you don't need our intervention. So I think of the 5 criteria, there are a number that are not met, and a little part of me feels like we're curmudgeon. I mean, this really isn't an imposition on any neighbor. The question is, do we uphold a rule like this when, you know, they simply don't meet our criteria? And I think I'm going to have to vote no on this, even though I feel a little bad about doing that. But I would just suggest to the applicant's representative, who is very articulate, you don't want to hear this, but the LLB intent, they may still make it. It's a good option. Maybe Cabela's, but I'm sorry, sir. I think I'm really going to vote no on this.
Any other discussion? We ready for a motion? Thank you, Chris. I think we're ready.
So I just want to make sure that, yeah. So this is for case ZBA 24-002, 1960 Ivywood Drive. Based on the following findings and in accordance with the established standards for approval, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants a 12-foot 1-inch variance from Table 55, Table 5.17-1, single-family residential zoning districts. The required rear yard setback is 30 feet. The variance allows for a 17.9-foot rear yard setback and a new enclosed sunroom to be built. The sunroom is to be built per submitted plans.
A motion, do I have support?
Support.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina. We'll give you the next one, Grace. Todd?
No.
Chris?
No.
Grace?
No.
I also vote no. Dharma?
No.
Sadira?
No.
Mike?
No.
Christina?
No.
The request is denied. Moving on to petition ZBA 24-0005, 805 3rd Street. John?
Martin Clark, representing the property owner, is requesting relief from Section 5.32.2, non-conforming structure, to allow an alteration to a non-conforming structure. The owners are proposing an approximate 460 square foot, 1-story addition with a walkout basement below to the rear of the existing home. The addition will maintain the same 5.2 foot side yard setback. The property is zoned R4B, multiple family dwelling district, and has a 12-foot required side yard setback. The subject property is located on the east side of 3rd Street, south of Coke Avenue, and north of West Davis Avenue. The home was constructed in 1933 and is approximately 1,124 square feet in size. The owners plan on removing the existing rear deck and replacing with the single-story addition with a walkout basement and 4 skylights. The floor plan for the addition will allow for a new bedroom, bathroom, closet, mudroom, and extension to the existing kitchen. The basement area will contain a family room, a bathroom, a hallway, and a kitchenette. The plans received approval from the Historic District Commission on February 8th, 2024. If you'll move your attention to the monitors, please, you'll see that the first slide shows the subject property highlighted in blue on the east side of 3rd Street. And the next slide shows the surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide shows a zoomed-in aerial photo of the subject property. You can see kind of the deck at the northeast corner of the home, and this is where the addition's being proposed. This is the survey that was submitted with the application. It's a little difficult to see, but it's got the proposed addition superimposed there, and you can see where it says proposed addition with an arrow. You can also see it in your packets, maybe a little bit better. And the next slide is the site plan that was submitted with the applicant, by the applicant. You can see the darkened area shows the proposed addition at the top. Next slide shows the existing floor plans. And the next slide shows the improvements that I talked about. On the left side, you've got the main level. You see the new ensuite and the kitchen extension and a mudroom. And then the right-hand side is the basement level with the family room and a kitchenette and a full bath. And I believe that's also a mechanical room. Next slide is the roof plan of the proposed addition. You see the 4 skylights that were mentioned earlier. And these are the elevations of the proposed addition. This is looking at it from the south. And this is looking at it from the north on the opposite side. And the east and west proposed elevations. These are the photos that I took of the property when I made my site visit. You see the front of the home looking at the driveway and the existing, I think that's a 1-car garage. This is looking on the north side of the property line and in relationship to the neighbors on the north, looking down the side of the property, of the side of the existing home. This is looking to the south side, the neighbors on the south, and the driveway and the small structure at the end of the driveway. It's a different view of the home and the driveway. This is looking at the back of the property, the back of the house, the rear facade, if you will. This is looking from the deck down to the back of the yard. And this is just looking up the hill and back to the back of the house. Some more photos standing from the deck. Looking directly at the back of the house. Looking at the neighbors on the north side, down the side yard. This is the existing deck that's to be removed, that portion, and looking right to my left is the back of the house. And then you see looking out towards the neighbors and the backyard. That's the end of my presentation. I can take any questions that you have at this time.
Thanks, John. Any questions?
Can you just go back to the floor plan? The only thing I'm seeing in my packet, I see the lot survey with plot plans, but just the floor plan that you have.
That's, what do you want, the existing or the proposed?
Start, if you wouldn't mind just holding up the existing for a moment. Okay, and then the proposed. Okay, that helps. Thanks.
Any other questions for John? All right, if the petitioner is here, you can come forward and make your presentation, or if you're accessing remotely.
No one from the audience is here to speak? Okay, we have Adam Wilbanks. Adam, if you're there, you can speak on this petition?
Yeah, can you guys hear me all right?
Yep.
Yeah, yes, we can.
So my name is Adam Wilbanks. I am a designer with Draft Design Build, speaking, for the homeowner tonight. So John hit on a lot of the key information. I would say, so here, he mentioned that we got a historic district approval earlier in February. The fact that this was a historic property where we were not allowed to build an addition up necessitated going backwards into the rear yard as we have. The lot is exceptionally narrow and has an existing historic garage, which we could not modify. Again, sort of creating this narrow, deep addition that we're proposing. In terms of looking at the sort of zoning code, this house, as John mentioned, was built in the early 30s and definitely predates, I think, the multifamily zoning that was sort of applied to it and its surrounding properties. You can see that the original house, the 1933 house, half of which would be non-conforming per the current multifamily setback. So our sort of, I guess, request to you as a board is, our goal is to stay, the north side would be no further, towards the boundary than the current house already is. And we're trying to be respectful in terms of, obviously staying as far off of the north boundary as possible while also still maintaining a reasonable access between the existing garage and the proposed addition. And then I would also say in terms of sightlines, because we're not coming any farther north with this new structure, I don't think, there's really no visibility from 3rd Street. And even from on the south side, the garage shields the bulk of this structure. And then on the north side, we've got a fairly heavily, there's several large trees as well as a fence line with quite a bit of brush that would, I don't think there would be any real negative impact visually to the neighbors to either to the north or south.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the petitioner? All right, seeing none, if there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, now's your chance. If anyone is here in person, you can come up to the microphone. Otherwise, if you're accessing the meeting remotely, please press *9 or use the raised hand button on the web link.
I'm not seeing any callers at this time.
Thank you, John. With that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. I didn't see any communication in our packet. I don't think there was any for this one. Okay. Grace.
I just wanted to say I support this, and I'm just going to be annoying to John again, that this is another thing that I think that we could easily reduce the number of people that have to come here if people are not increasing the nonconformity of an existing nonconforming structure. I think that that should so easily be an administratively approved thing.
I agree 100%.
I just want to put that out there into the universe because
if you could notify that to my boss, then
I will.
Because
I totally will.
I have myself. So.
Well, I just think we see a lot of these, and almost every single time there's little to no discussion. Everyone is like, is this very clearly meets the standards? It's not obtrusive in any way. I have yet to see a single time that we've had anything negative to say about one of these cases. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Occasionally, we'll get some feedback from a neighbor, but it gives the opportunity to surrounding property owners to voice their concerns if there are any, due to the fact that the setbacks are 12 feet for the district, and they're proposing to build an addition to the home that's only a little over 5. So if somebody, in the area, had some concerns, that they would have that ability to speak at a public hearing. So that's the answer I've received in the past, to, give people an opportunity for public comment as well.
I'll take that up with the
Dharma.
You can go.
Is it a UDC, is it an ordinance?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Section 5.32.2, so.
Not that John has it memorized or anything.
To the council member from my Ward 4, I'm a single issue voter to get rid of this, rid of this section. And the one where non-conforming lots but conforming buildings have to come before us. So I will be showing up at the master plan workshops to make comprehensive plan, excuse me. Though I think our enabling act probably uses them interchangeably. So watch out, because I'm a very strong single issue voter on this specific one.
Todd?
Well, I would just like to note that they passed the Historic District Commission, which can be very difficult. So, that makes my job even easier.
Any other discussion? We ready for a motion?
I can do the motion again.
Thank you, Chris.
I think it's only appropriate because Dave and I's beards are the same color, so it's dirty. Okay, so for ZBA 24-005, 805 3rd Street, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants relief from Section 5.32.2, alteration to a nonconforming structure to allow construction of an approximate 460 square foot, one-story addition with a walkout basement below the rear of the existing home. The addition will maintain the same 5.2-foot side yard setback as the existing structure. The addition is to be built per the submitted plans.
Thank you, Chris. We have a motion. Do I have support?
I'll support.
Thank you, Grace. Dharma?
Yes.
Sadira?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
I also vote yes. The request is granted. Moving on to petition ZBA 24-0004, 1125 Fair Oaks Parkway. John?
1 second while I get caught up in the PowerPoint. All right. Timothy Risk, representing the property owner, is requesting relief from Section 5.32.2 nonconforming structure to allow an alteration to a nonconforming structure. The owners are proposing an approximate 210 square foot screen porch addition to the side of the existing nonconforming residence. The addition will not encroach further into the required rear yard setback. The property is zoned R1B Single Family Residential and has a 40-foot required rear yard setback. The subject property is located near the intersection of Fair Oaks Parkway and Norway Road in the Burns Park neighborhood. The home was constructed in 1916 and is approximately 2,992 square feet in size. The owners plan on removing the existing brick paver patio and walkway from the sidewalk to the north side of the home. The new screen porch will connect to the home in 3 separate areas: the laundry room, a hallway, and the office. The screen room will be unconditioned space. If you'll turn your attention to the monitors, you'll see the first slide depicting the subject property in blue in the middle of your screen there, just near the Fair Oaks and Norway Road. The next slide shows surrounding properties and existing conditions. And the next slide shows the zoomed-in aerial photo, and from this side, you can see with that required 40-foot rear yard setback, you can see the existing home, how it's positioned. It doesn't meet that. It's very close to that rear lot line, and they're wanting to, in this picture, it's the top or the north side of this picture, to put this screen patio on that side of the home. This is the survey that was submitted with the application. And you can see the relationship to that property line on the right-hand side, or we'll just call it the east side. And then you see the how the surveyors superimposed the setbacks onto the property and where the home is in relationship to those setbacks. The next slide shows the demolition plan. Everything in red there is pretty much sidewalk or brick pavers, and it's going to be removed to make way for this new sunroom. The next slide shows the screen sunroom, screen porch, the footprint / foundation of the structure and its relationship to where it's going to be built on the side of this home. And the roof plan. And these are just some elevations, the west, north, and east elevations of the proposed screen room. The one in the center really gives you a good look to see the windows and the roof, how it connects into the home there. These are my photos that I took at my visit to the property.
Can you actually get out of your vehicle? I'm just noticing the dog.
Absolutely.
Did you pet the dog?
I had my dogs with me, so they were, I think they were all a little curious maybe. And this dog was curious of me. But I did get out of the vehicle and I had a conversation with the homeowner, if anyone wants to know. And this is the area where the brick pavers are leading to that side of the home. And you can see this is where the proposed brick pavers are going to be demolished and where the sunroom is proposed to be connected into this side of this home. More the same of the area, and you see the relationship to the corner of the house to this rear lot line. We'll say where the retaining wall and the fence meet. Its relationship, obviously the house does not meet that 40-foot setback. You can see the abutting homes in the background. And I took a photo of that closest abutting home. You do see some vegetation, a good vegetative buffer between the two homes. This is looking where the brick pavers are at, out towards Fair Oaks Parkway, out to the street. That's a good shot of the straight on of the elevation of the facade side where the screen room will be. Just a different little angle. And that wraps up my presentation. I'll take any questions that you may have at this time.
Thank you, John. Chris?
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 10, how good of a boy do you think that dog was?
I'm going to ignore that question.
Okay, all right, fair enough. It looks like a very good dog, so.
Questions for John? All right, if the petitioner is here, you may come forward. Please state your name, sign in. You'll have 5 minutes.
My name is Timothy Riss. I'm the architect of Arbor. My colleague Scott Crandall is here. He prepared the drawings. This is one of those lots where if you were to build a new home here, you'd be subjected to these setbacks in a very long, narrow, almost unbuildable space. The majority of this house is in the rear yard. And if you look at the aerial view, you can see that the front of the house is in line with the neighboring properties. In fact, this whole street, most of the houses are set quite far back from the street, which is really part of the character of the neighborhood. And also, if we do have any buildable areas outside within the conforming or within the buildable setback area, we'd basically be limited to adding to the front, which I think would take away from the character of the neighborhood and the houses on either side, or to the south, which is where the driveway is. So we really can't build anything there. So that's the hardship. The actual footprint of the house, the total square footage is almost 3,000 square feet. The footprint is 1,600 square feet on the lot, and we're asking for 210 square feet addition.
Thank you. Any questions for the petitioner? All right, thank you. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak on this petition, please come forward now, or if you're accessing remotely, please press *9 to raise your hand or use the raise hand function if accessing via the web link. I will note we did receive some letters of support one from Marjorie and Barry Checkaway at 1920 Norway Road, one from Jill and Brian Baumhover at 1137 Fair Oaks Parkway, and one from Carol Mull at 1111 Fair Oaks Parkway. Callers?
No one's raising their hand right now. I do see Adam Wilbanks, but I think he was the last guy.
Yeah.
So I've not seen any callers at this time.
Okay, thank you, John. With that, the public hearing is closed and we're in discussion. I will say very briefly, so comparing this to the first petition that we saw this evening with the sunroom, similar to a screened-in porch, in my opinion, this lot, not only is it petitioned to alter a non-conforming structure, not a variance, so the standards there are significantly easier to meet. But there are significant challenges with this lot. The house is barely within the buildable area as it is, so nearly any addition to the house would be outside of the setback area. And yeah, there's a lot of, I'd say, unique things about this lot that make it a different scenario entirely. So for me, it's much easier to support this than the previous one that we looked at this evening. Any other discussion? Chris?
I can go for a motion if everyone's ready.
Looks like we're ready. Thank you.
All right. For ZBA 24-0004, 1125 Fair Oaks Parkway, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby grants relief from Section 5.32.2, alteration to a non-conforming structure, to allow to allow construction of an approximate 210 square foot screened porch addition to the side of a non-conforming residence. The screened room addition will not encroach further into the required rear yard setback. The addition is to be built per the submitted plans.
Thank you, Chris. Do I have support?
Support.
Thank you, Christina. Mike?
Yes.
Christina?
Yes.
Todd?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Grace?
Yes.
I also vote yes. Dharma?
Yes.
Sadira?
Yes.
The request is granted. Moving on to unfinished business, we have the 2024 calendar of, essentially the schedule of our ZBA meetings for 2024 from the clerk's office for posting.
So I'll mention something about this. Last month, I mentioned that maybe offered a cancellation of the meeting. I got a lot of resistance on that, I thought. And so I also thought we were going to have possibly 2 months in a row in May in the basement. But I've been notified as of a couple days ago that that's no longer the case. May will be in the chambers, so we're only going to have 1 month in the basement. I've set up a meeting with CTN, and so we're going to try to work out any bugs with operating in the basement. So I don't think it's an issue anymore. I think we can go ahead and have the April meeting in the basement, and so I don't think there's a need to cancel it. So if anyone else agrees with me, I think we can just drop that from the unfinished business if it's not a problem.
So do we need to vote on this? Or
No,
it's already been approved? We've
already approved the calendar. It was
Right.
the only time if we were going to have to vote is if we were going to cancel it. But
Gotcha, okay.
if anyone's in agreement with me and just decides, yeah, well, let's just keep the calendar the same, I don't think we need to vote on it.
All right, I'm fine with working out of the basement.
That's the feeling I got the last time.
We've done it before on rare occasions, so.
I know we did it. I did it. I don't think I've ever done it in the basement. I did it once on the 6th floor. We did it once in the conference room.
I've done it once from the basement. I
Okay,
did it for
so-
an extended period of time, I think, at the CTN offices, because, oh, yeah.
So-
All right, so any other comments on everyone's
right.
good with it
Yeah.
as it is?
And-
Fabulous.
And just let everyone know, next month, I hope everyone's here. It's going to be a big agenda. I have 7 petitions, so.
Oh, goodness.
I would like to be here, but I will not be here.
Okay, all right. So I will note that. Anyone else in advance? You're not going to be here either? Oh,
All right, I think those guys are making it up because you just said it was a long agenda. I'm almost certain of it.
it's a,
What's the date, actually?
next month,
Yeah, sorry.
March 27th.
Yes. All right, moving on, new business, we have none. Communications, we have addressed. Public comment. If there's anyone from the public who wishes to speak with the ZBA, now's your chance. Since there's no one here, if there's anyone accessing remotely, please press star 9 to raise your hand or use the raise hand button.
There are no callers.
All right, thanks, John. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn? Oh, yeah, please.
Should have cut in during communications. I wanted to let people know about a UDC change that City Council made in our last meeting about the conflicting land use buffer. Basically, we eliminated the requirement to buffer the same uses from each other, specifically multifamily dwellings from other multifamily dwellings in the same district. So this could create a situation, and I'm not sure if we've seen requests for variances. I imagine.
Not lately, but we have in the
Okay.
past,
Yeah.
yes.
I'm not sure if I've ever seen one, but I imagined that this would be something. So, I had asked for examples of where this creates a problem, and the examples that were given to me were multi-family houses that sit next to each other and wanting to share a driveway, 24-foot wide driveway, would still need to have 15 feet on both sides, so 33 feet plus the 66 feet. Basically, like the width gets taken up, and then you can't have a shared driveway, essentially, or you're non-conforming. So this allows us to more efficiently use parcels and also, build in density and maintain neighborhood character. So that's it.
Great, thanks for the update. Anyone else have anything to share? All right, now we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Chris. Support? From Dharma. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.